Hello YouTube! My name is Stacey Brook and I am the founder and chief advisor at College Essay Advisors, and I am here today to talk to you about prompt number 3 for the Common Application. Prompt number 3 reads like this. Reflect on a time when you challenged a belief or idea. What prompted you to act? Would you make the same decision again? So prompt number 3 has been around for at least a couple application cycles now, and it is definitely one of the more challenging of the Common App prompts. For the most part, you're either going to love this question or you're going to skip over it. It asks applicants to sort of go in depth into some of their values and beliefs, and their beliefs within the framework of challenging the status quo, or standing up for what they believe in. It is a little bit of a tricky prompt to back your way into. If you aren't immediately inspired by it, you can skip it and be on your way to the next one. But there are some applicants who read this prompt and who immediately have an idea that they think is going to work. Some of the things you're going to want to think about when you think about prompt number 3 is, when have you ever challenged an opinion that was popular? Or when have you ever stood up for an injustice? And what did your actions accomplish? And what were the consequences of your actions? And how will the way that you dealt with these situations manifest itself in the future on a college campus, in an academic environment, in a social environment, anywhere in your future? Okay, so with all of that in mind, we're going to deliver to you some tips for answering prompt number 3. And the first tip is don't preach. This essay, any essay in response to prompt number 3 can very easily go into overly preachy, didactic territory. But this is not a persuasive essay. You're not trying to, establish your belief and then get the reader to side with you or prove that someone else is wrong. That's not your aim either. What you really want to do is establish a sense of belief, a sense of values, or a belief that is important to you, and then you want to talk about an experience that is related to that belief and how you encountered that challenge. How you overcame that challenge. So again, you're not trying to necessarily win a reader to your side in an argument, but you do want to show your ability to think about things with a sense of intellectual curiosity, and you want to show the reader that you have the ability to challenge the status quo. You want to show admissions also how you deal in a situation of conflict. When you encounter people who don't believe the same things you believe, what is your response? This is also an essay that provides a really great opportunity to show some kind of transformation. Maybe you believed something vehemently and don't believe it anymore. Because you challenged a belief or idea. Any kind of growth, learning that you get from self-examination is going to be something worth exploring here. Tip number 2 is avoid controversy. So we are not telling you to bury your beliefs underground and not showcase, your real values and be proud of the person you are. We would never do that. In fact, one of the things we challenge you to do first and foremost is, make sure there's a true representation of you and what you believe on the page. That said, there are certain topics that could potentially be inflammatory for certain kinds of readers. The truth is, you don't really know who's going to pick up your application, and you don't necessarily want to take the risk of talking about something that is rooted in one of these very controversial issues that will lead to someone's bias getting in the way of being able to assess who you are and what you will bring to a college campus. So, of course, there are always exceptions in these situations, and those should be considered carefully. And sometimes it is worth the risk of talking about something that, can be a sensitive topic. And, we have certainly encouraged certain students to tackle those issues. But for the most part, again, if you feel like something could be controversial, even if there's a 50-50 chance, it is probably worth considering your other options before you commit to that topic. So tip number 3 for this prompt is be positive. So when you're thinking about the fallout or the results or the consequences or even the benefits of challenging this belief or idea. What you really want to focus on is, what was the transformation? What did you learn from this experience? And most of that should be positive. This is your biggest moment where you get to express yourself to admissions in your own voice. This is where you have the opportunity to show someone what it would be like to sit and have a conversation with you. And you really you wouldn't show up to an interview in a bad mood. So if you have control over it, show up to the page in a good mood and put your best self and your most positive self on the page. All right, so now let's talk about some of our favorite student essays that tackled this prompt. So a super interesting one that one of our students presented to us over the years was about her experience working on a political campaign with a candidate who was embroiled in a very high-profile scandal. And she discussed how other members of this political candidate's team decided to flee the campaign, and she discussed why she decided to stay. And it was really fascinating to hear her perspective and to understand, what about this candidate's beliefs and campaign promises, was important to her beyond this scandal that was unfolding. So that was a super interesting case of challenging a belief or idea that I'm sure admissions was really fascinated by when they read it. Another really interesting essay about challenging a belief or idea came from one of our students who is originally from Senegal, and she wanted to go to school in the States and ultimately did end up going to school in the States. And during one of her many visits, during the application process, she was in the town of Washington, D.C., and in her essay she describes how people's preconceived notions of what Senegalese people, what African people are and do came up in conversation, and some very ridiculous things were said to her, and she talked about how she challenged the beliefs and ideas that other people had about her culture. So as you can see, there are ways to make prompt number 3 work in your favor, and to write a really strong essay that showcases your intellectual curiosity, your ability to communicate with other people that don't have the same beliefs that you do, your ability to stand up in the face of injustice, your ability to stand up in the face of popular opinion. The student who stayed on the political campaign, she stuck with her own beliefs as opposed to following the crowd in that situation. So there are definitely a lot of possibilities to work with prompt number 3. Again, I think this is one that's either gonna strike you, you're gonna be struck with lightning, and have a beautiful idea that fits within the context of this prompt, or you're gonna say no thank you. Either way, you have lots of other options, so you're in good shape. So that's all we have for prompt number 3 today. If you like what you see, if you want more tips for any of the prompts, subscribe to our channel. We already have videos for prompts number 1 and number 2 online, and prompt number 4 is going to be up there before you know it. So make sure you follow us. Take a peek down below if you want more information about this or any other videos. Feel free to leave comments or questions if there is something about this prompt that we have not answered, or any other prompts. We're here to clarify whatever you need, and we look forward to checking in with you again soon.